In a stunning legal twist that has left Hollywood insiders in absolute shock, the date for Blake Lively's long-awaited deposition has finally been announced. And just when you thought things couldn't get more bizarre, Blake decided to drop a brand new claim, a claim so outlandish, so bizarre, so clearly fabricated that even her own allies are starting to cringe. Buckle up, because this latest move isn't just desperate, it's bogus, and everybody knows it. We are talking about a woman who has spent over a decade carefully curating the image of perfection, the sweet girl next door meets flawless fashion icon. She's walked every red carpet with precision, delivered every soundbite with grace, and orchestrated every interview to fit the perfect Hollywood mold. But behind that polished smile, a very different reality has been brewing. And now, with a subpoena forcing her to testify under oath, Blake is no longer protected by handlers or a PR team. She has to face the truth, and she's scrambling to delay it at all costs. Let's be very clear about what just happened. Blake Lively will be deposed. She will be asked direct questions under oath about her alleged involvement in the behind-the-scenes chaos at Wayfarer Studios, her connection to the smear campaign against Justin Baldoni, and her role in the legal and media manipulation that has now completely backfired. No publicist can save her in that room. No Instagram filter can soften the blow of sworn testimony. And how did Blake respond? By filing an emergency motion claiming that she's been the victim of psychological manipulation via media coverage. Yes, you heard that right. Blake Lively, a woman who has built an empire on controlling the media, is now accusing the media of controlling her. She says the public discourse has been so unfair, so mentally distressing, that it's impairing her ability to testify truthfully. As if her own carefully curated press machine hasn't been manipulating public perception for years. It's not just ironic, it's insulting. Because while Blake plays the victim, we're all seeing the bigger picture. We see a pattern of distraction, a web of deflection, and a woman who refuses to take accountability when the spotlight is no longer flattering. The filing reeks of desperation. Legal analysts are calling it laughable, frivolous, and insulting to the intelligence of the court. And it's only making things worse for Blake. The internet exploded when the news broke. Within hours, her name was trending across social media platforms. Tweets piled up mocking the claim. Legal TikTok broke it down frame by frame. Even former allies in the press are stepping back, unwilling to defend a move that's been universally labeled as bogus. One headline read, Blake Lively from fashion icon to courtroom clown, and sadly that sentiment is spreading. Because here's the truth, Blake doesn't want to hear this deposition is happening whether she likes it or not. The courts aren't playing her PR game. The judge has already denied multiple motions to delay or dismiss. The countdown is on, and when the day comes, she will have to answer everything in her own words under oath with no spin allowed. What's more devastating is what she may be asked. Leaked text messages, deleted emails, confidential memos. There are whispers that damning communications exist between Blake and high-level publicists strategizing how to bury Baldoni's credibility, possibly even with the help of fake tips, planted stories, and media pressure. If that's true, and if she's forced to acknowledge it during her deposition, the fallout will be nuclear. This is why her bogus media manipulation claim matters. Because it shows us how scared she really is. It shows us that the same woman who once effortlessly pulled every string behind the scenes is now yanking the fire alarm to avoid the consequences of her own actions. And it's not working. Not with the judge. Not with the media. And certainly not with the public. Hollywood is watching. Executives, publicists, fellow actors. Everyone is watching Blake Lively flail in real time, and they're taking notes. The silence from her celebrity friends says more than 1,000 press releases. Taylor Swift silent. Ryan Reynolds MIA. Even her longtime stylist hasn't posted anything supportive. And in this town, silence isn't just passive. It's calculated. This is no longer about who's telling the best story, it's about who's telling the truth. And that truth is closing in on Blake like a spotlight. She can't dim. The charm has worn off. The narrative is slipping. And this new bogus claim, it's just more proof that Blake is not prepared to face the storm she helped create. So stay with us. Because over the next few minutes, we're going to walk you through everything: the confirmed deposition date, the legal implications, the bizarre psychological manipulation claim, the growing public backlash, and what all of this could mean not just for Blake Lively's career but for her future freedom. This isn't just a scandal. This is the beginning of a reckoning. Blake Lively has officially been scheduled to testify under oath, and the internet is absolutely on fire. The announcement of her deposition date comes after months of mounting legal chaos, PR meltdowns, and now yet another shocking twist: a brand new and completely bizarre claim from Blake that has people screaming bogus all over social media. This isn't just another Hollywood legal spat anymore. This is a full-blown crisis spiraling out of control, and Blake, she's standing right at the eye of the storm. Just days after her legal team failed to block damning evidence from Justin Baldoni's legal filings, including what insiders describe as potentially career-ending messages and behind-the-scenes footage, Blake's camp is now grasping at straws, making desperate, convoluted claims that seem more designed to distract than defend. And the timing beyond suspicious. Sources close to the case confirmed that Blake Lively's court-mandated deposition is officially set for later this month, and her attendance is not optional. She will be required to answer under oath direct questions about her alleged role in the suppression of evidence, her controversial relationship with co-defendants, and perhaps most damning, what she knew about the smear campaign against Baldoni and when she knew it. There's no room for rehearsed red carpet charm in a deposition. This will be raw, unfiltered, and potentially devastating for her legal position. But instead of preparing with humility or grace, Blake has opted for a completely different tactic: distraction and deflection. Her new claim, which emerged in a late-night emergency filing, has left legal analysts baffled. She's alleging that the Wayfarer legal team, along with Justin Baldoni's attorneys, were engaging in psychological manipulation through media coverage, and that it should be grounds for delaying or even throwing out sections of the case. You read that right. Blake is now suggesting that she's been unfairly influenced by public discourse. Never mind the fact that she herself weaponized the press when it suited her. This brand new legal angle is already being dismissed by commentators as laughable, and it speaks volumes about the state of Blake's legal strategy, or what's left of it. Legal experts are calling it everything from a Hail Mary to patently unserious, with many speculating that it's merely a last-ditch attempt to stall the inevitable Blake Lively under oath, with no handlers, no teleprompters, no PR spin. And as her deposition looms, those once closest to her are keeping their distance. Ryan Reynolds hasn't publicly commented. Her reps are silent. Even longtime allies in the industry are reportedly backing away, nervous about what she might say or what might come out when the cameras are off and the stakes are real. Because this isn't a script. This isn't a Vanity Fair puff piece. This is federal litigation. This is a woman with everything to lose, and now very few cards left to play. The confirmation of Blake Lively's deposition date landed like a thunderclap. Court reporters rushed to confirm the filing, and within hours media outlets were scrambling to push the headline: Blake Lively subpoenaed, deposition scheduled. What makes this moment so explosive isn't just the fact that she has to testify, it's what she's expected to be asked. Lively's deposition will likely center on three pillars: 1. Her personal involvement in the internal disputes at Wayfarer Studios. 2. Her alleged knowledge or participation in the coordinated media attacks against Baldoni. 3. Her communications with publicists and intermediaries, some of which have already leaked. This deposition isn't just about Blake defending herself. It's about potential perjury, obstruction, and complicity. And if she fumbles, contradicts herself, or slips up, that testimony could become the cornerstone of a much larger legal disaster. Insiders familiar with the preparation process say her legal team has been in panic mode since the judge denied multiple motions to quash the subpoenas. They've been trying everything, motioning for protective orders, filing procedural delays, even appealing to the court to let her testify privately to avoid media contamination. That last move was swiftly denied. The judge made it clear this is a matter of public interest. All parties are expected to comply with transparency protocols. Translation: Blake will have to speak on record, without a script. What's also telling is how swiftly her latest claim about psychological manipulation by the opposing counsel was filed right after the deposition was confirmed. The proximity is impossible to ignore. Legal commentators like Lisa Green and Brian Fox say it reeks of desperation. One analyst on Court TV even joked this claim feels like it came from a screenwriter trying to spice up a weak second act. Not a legitimate legal strategy. But what exactly is the claim? In short, Blake alleges that she's been a victim of a media psyop, that Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer's legal team have been curating coverage that unfairly influences her ability to participate in a fair process. In plain English, she's saying she's being bullied by the press. This is a woman with a $100 million brand portfolio and multiple publicists claiming media bias. The backlash was immediate. Twitter/X exploded. Legal TikTok lit up. Celebrities, Wade and journalists shook their heads, and even former legal allies of Blake's couldn't keep a straight face. The sentiment: this is embarrassing. Let's start with the public reaction. One tweet that went viral simply read: Blake Lively, please ignore all the media coverage I started. Another added: so she's claiming she can't testify because she's too famous for the truth, girl, be serious. Legal experts didn't hold back either. Former U.S. Attorney Rachel Rollins called the filing a masterclass in avoidance, while defense strategist Emily Grant told MSNBC, if Blake Lively is afraid of the media, she should have thought of that before weaponizing it. Courts don't deal in vibes. They deal in facts. But perhaps the most brutal response came from a surprising source, a former publicist who used to work with Blake in the early 2010s. In a now-deleted Instagram story, the PR insider wrote, "She was always obsessed with controlling the narrative. That's why this is unraveling. Because you can't spin your way out of a sworn deposition." Even inside Hollywood, there's a growing sense that Blake is losing her grip on reality, or at least on how much power she still wields. Multiple former co-stars have remained silent on the case, refusing to lend her any public support. And in the court of public opinion, silence speaks volumes. Now let's get to the meat of the so-called bogus claim. In her new filing, Blake's legal team argues that the increased volume of media stories since the case began, particularly ones that involve commentary analysis and leaked documents, has created a hostile psychological environment that puts her at a disadvantage. She is essentially asking the judge to recognize bad press as a form of emotional distress. Let's pause for a second. This is the same Blake Lively who once infamously used Page Six to plant rumors about a rival actress being difficult on set. The same Blake who reportedly had stories pulled or altered before premieres, who regularly curates her image through Instagram soft launch photo shoots with Ryan Reynolds. But now she's crying foul because the media isn't playing nice. The irony is thick and the legal weakness is even thicker. Because here's the bottom line: unless she can prove that the opposing legal team was coordinating with journalists to manipulate her testimony, her claim falls apart. And that level of collusion is virtually impossible to prove. Media coverage, no matter how harsh, does not constitute legal interference unless it involves defamation or direct witness tampering, neither of which have been alleged with any proof. So why file it? Why now? The answer is simple: delay, distraction, and narrative control. Her team knows the deposition will be brutal. They know the leaks are getting worse. They know Blake's reputation is slipping every time a former colleague, publicist, or friend comes forward with a story. And most importantly, they know that the upcoming deposition might be the moment her entire story unravels. So what happens when Blake Lively walks into that deposition room? According to legal analysts, she'll face hours, possibly days of questioning. Everything is fair game: her private texts, her interactions with Baldoni's team, her statements to the press, and her role at Wayfarer Studios. It's likely that Brian Friedman, the attorney representing Baldoni, will lead some of the questioning himself. Friedman is known for his precision, his no-nonsense tone, and his ability to catch high-profile figures in contradictions. And Blake, for all her polish, has been inconsistent in her public and legal statements. Those inconsistencies could become legal liabilities. She'll also be asked about her attempts to have evidence sealed, her communications with media outlets during the heat of the smear campaign, and her ongoing relationship with several alleged co-conspirators. And perhaps most explosively, she may be forced to address the now infamous leaked text chain between herself, a producer, and an unnamed actress discussing how to damage control the Baldoni narrative. If that happens, if she's forced to explain under oath why she was discussing narrative management in the midst of an active legal dispute, it could be catastrophic. So here we are. Blake Lively is officially on the clock. Her deposition is imminent, her legal team is scrambling, and her latest claim being widely dismissed as bogus, desperate, and disingenuous. What began as a PR conflict between former collaborators has now spiraled into one of the most compelling celebrity legal dramas in recent memory. And if Blake thought she could navigate this the way she's navigated red carpets and Vogue interviews, with charm, poise, and a little spin, she's about to get a rude awakening. Because depositions don't care about your publicist. They don't care about Instagram aesthetics. They care about the truth. And as the clock ticks down to deposition day, one question looms: will Blake Lively tell the truth under oath? Or will she double down on the illusion? We'll soon find out. The writing is on the wall, and it's written in bold, unflinching letters. Blake Lively is out of time, out of options, and out of narrative control. The announcement of her deposition date has stripped away the last illusion of immunity, the final layer of Hollywood polish that once kept her protected from accountability. This isn't just another celebrity crisis being swept under the rug by a PR machine. This is a legal reckoning, and it's coming for her whether she's ready or not. And while the headlines have focused on the sheer drama of her new bogus claim, the idea that media coverage amounts to psychological manipulation, we have to take a deeper look at the why. Why now? Why this tactic? Why lean into a claim so fundamentally unserious that legal experts, public figures, and fans alike have universally rejected it as absurd? The answer reveals something much darker. This is a last-ditch effort to control perception, not to assert truth. This is a woman scrambling to maintain power in a system where power is finally shifting away from her. For years, Blake Lively has curated an image of perfection: the flawless red carpet appearances, the seemingly fairy tale marriage, the hand-picked roles, the subtle but strategic shade she's thrown at her competitors. It's been tightly managed. Every photo, every post, every whisper to the press has served one purpose: to keep Blake elevated, untouchable, revered. But beneath the surface, the whispers have been growing louder. Former collaborators, staffers, PR insiders, legal experts. People who now say without fear that the Blake they worked with behind closed doors was not the one the public was shown. And now with a sworn deposition approaching, those two versions of Blake the myth and the reality are on a violent collision course. We must understand the significance of a deposition. It's not a casual sit-down. It's not an interview. It's not a press junket. A deposition is a formal legal proceeding, a room where truth matters and lies have consequences. Every word she says will be on the record. Every pause, every contradiction, every non-answer, all of it will be scrutinized by opposing counsel and potentially weaponized in court. There is no script. There are no edits. There is no walking away. She will have to answer, and if she lies, perjury charges are on the table. This is no longer about reputation, it's about criminal liability. And Blake knows it. That's why this bogus claim about media manipulation is so telling. It reveals just how disconnected from reality she has become. In her mind, the idea that she's being treated unfairly isn't just a defense, it's a belief. It's a refusal to accept that the tide has turned. She's no longer the woman with the most powerful friends in the room. She's the woman everyone's now afraid to be associated with. Her name, once shorthand for elegance and influence, is now whispered with apprehension in Hollywood's back rooms. Let's talk about those rooms: the Hollywood insiders, the A-listers, the producers who once courted Blake for her brand value. Where are they now? Where are the endorsements, the co-stars stepping up to vouch for her character, the directors offering kind words, the public support from friends like Taylor Swift, who once championed Blake's narrative without question? Gone. The silence is deafening, and it's deliberate. In Hollywood, silence isn't just absence. It's a message. A calculated, strategic message that says we're watching, we're waiting, and we're not getting involved until we know how this ends. That message has echoed from red carpets to studio boardrooms to courtroom benches. Blake is on her own now. And let's not forget, this isn't happening in a vacuum. The industry is changing. The public is changing. We're in an era where accountability is no longer optional. Where power plays made in the shadows are being dragged into the light. Where manipulative behavior, no matter how carefully dressed in designer clothes or sugar-coated in magazine interviews, is finally being called out for what it is: toxic. And the public sees it. They see the contradictions in Blake's statements. They see the performative filings from her legal team. They see the desperate attempt to delay the inevitable. And perhaps most damning of all, they see the pattern. Because this isn't the first time Blake has used the media as both a shield and a sword. It's not the first time she's manipulated a narrative to preserve her image. It's just the first time the strategy has failed spectacularly. So what happens next? Blake's deposition will move forward. That's already been decided. The bogus claim will likely be thrown out. It holds no legal water. But the real consequences, they'll unfold in layers. First, in the courtroom. Her testimony could expose her to legal consequences far beyond this case. If she contradicts evidence, if her communications suggest dishonesty or obstruction, she could be facing real liability. Perjury, obstruction, malicious intent. And all of it will be recorded. Second, in the media, the press will dissect her words, her tone, her body language. Clips will go viral. Analysts will react in real time. And the public, already skeptical, will form judgments that may never be undone. Once trust is broken, especially in the court of public opinion, it's rarely repaired. Third, in her personal life, the strain is already showing. Ryan Reynolds has remained conspicuously absent from public commentary. Friends have gone silent. Brand partners are beginning to pause campaigns and contracts. This deposition could be the final nail in the coffin of her carefully cultivated image. And finally, in Hollywood, studios are watching this unfold with morbid fascination. No one wants to attach their film or series to a star mired in controversy, especially one who may be exposed for lies, manipulation, or worse. This isn't about morality. It's about liability. Studios invest millions. They don't like surprises. And Blake Lively has become a walking liability. But there's something deeper happening here, something beyond legal strategy or celebrity drama. We are watching in real time what happens when entitlement meets accountability. For years, Blake Lively believed she could control the game. That she could charm, manipulate, and curate her way through anything. But accountability doesn't care about your followers. It doesn't care about your PR team. It doesn't care how many red carpets you've walked or how many designer deals you've signed. Accountability comes anyway. And now it's at her doorstep. As we count down the days to Blake's deposition, the world will be watching, not just for the answers she gives, but for the questions she can't avoid. Because at this point, the real question isn't whether Blake Lively will emerge unscathed. The real question is whether she'll be able to salvage anything at all: her reputation, her career, her credibility, once the truth is finally spoken aloud under oath and on the record. And once that truth is out, there's no going back. Because no amount of spin can rewrite a transcript. No viral selfie can erase a legal finding. No glam team can cover the cracks of a crumbling facade. This is Blake Lively's reckoning. And the clock is ticking. This is not a drill. It's official. Blake Lively will be deposed under oath, and the panic in her camp is obvious. Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse for the Hollywood actress already drowning in legal backlash and public scrutiny, she's dropped a shocking new claim that has even her staunchest defenders raising eyebrows. This latest move, a desperate last-minute legal stunt to delay what may be the most humiliating moment of her career, a no-holds-barred deposition that could end her credibility once and for all. But here's the catch: the courts aren't playing along. We now have official confirmation that Blake Lively's deposition date is locked in, and according to court documents, she'll be forced to answer for months, maybe years, of manipulation, media games, and alleged misconduct at the highest levels of power in Hollywood. And what's her legal team doing in response? Filing bogus claims that border on delusion, including one that literally suggests Blake is the victim of psychological warfare via negative media coverage. Yes, you read that right. She's arguing that the bad press is too much for her to testify fairly. You can't make this up. But here's what's really going on: the walls are closing in. Her attempts to keep damaging evidence sealed have failed. Her allies in Hollywood have gone radio silent. And her name, once a golden brand, is now tarnished and trending for all the wrong reasons. This isn't just courtroom drama anymore. It's a PR disaster, a career implosion, and maybe even a legal time bomb. And the worst part for Blake, there's no way out. The deposition is happening. She'll be grilled on everything from her involvement in smear campaigns to leaked messages to secret conversations with her crisis PR team. And the court won't care about red carpets or Instagram. Blake Lively is about to face reality. And when the truth comes out unfiltered, unedited, and sworn under oath, we'll finally see who she really is behind the Hollywood mask.